Actually be doing a sound bath tonight with his Tibetan bowls and his bells and his magic. He'll be performing with Nas, who you'll hear in just a minute. His title is Ha Ha Hypnosis. Ladies and gentlemen, warmly welcome Peter Blum.
Just to piggyback off Spencer, Shelley called me and said, "What do you want to talk about?" And I said, hypnosis, and that became the title of the talk. But seriously, I want to honor somebody that I often would come out to Shelley's conferences with over the years, including sharing a very small room with him on board the Queen Mary, which is where the conference was held for a number of years. Some of you were on at those, the old timers, right? So that was a lot of fun. And my buddy Michael Elner, like my friends like to say, he shed the robe 2 years ago. So he's walking in some other realms now. But we often would come traveling. He's another New Yorker, and I'm from upstate New York, but originally New York City. And Michael lived in New York, and he was a mover and shaker and a very influential hypnotist who worked with a lot of people with extreme health challenges. He worked with the Gay Men's Health Crisis Center in New York during the AIDS epidemic, and he was very famous for challenging the medical establishment. And he was a very funny guy. So we would entertain each other. We would travel together. We'd room together at a lot of these hypnosis conferences, and I'm just remembering him because this is not a new topic for me. I have been thinking about this probably for a long time. I got trained in the mid-'80s and got certified in 1987. So I'm now 33 years of practice, and I almost got it. I almost understand, but a few more years of practice, I might get there. And I met Michael early on, and we went to all these conferences together. So at one large conference, we decided we were going to present a post-conference workshop on humor, hypnosis, and healing, because we felt that there was a definite connection between all three of them. So this is something that maybe not everybody feels funny. Maybe not everybody feels that they can tell humorous stories and jokes. Some of you may have also met at some of Shelley's previous conferences the famous Swami Beyondananda,
yes,
a.k.a. Steve Behrman. And he taught a workshop once, and he said, it's not about, and it stuck with me. I don't remember much else that he said, but he said it's not about being funny. It's about seeing funny. And it's kind of like you put on, it's like when I first learned about hypnosis, it's like I put on the hypnosis glasses, and everywhere I looked, I saw people going in and out of trance. It's a new way of looking at things. And so if you have that slightly skewed view of things, everything has the potential to be entertaining and humorous. And so I have a couple of heroes in my life. I have a lot of heroes, actually. And in the field of hypnosis, and I was talking to Spencer and saying I was really annoyed at Milton Erickson because he went and died before I found out about him. Otherwise, I would have gone and spent time with him because he was brilliant, and passed on in 1979, and I only got heard of him in '85. So this is a quote from Milton Erickson, who is, some say, the probably most, or certainly one of the most influential. Everybody's heard of Dr. Milton Erickson, right? Is there anyone here who hasn't heard of Milton Erickson? No, okay. So here's a quote from Erickson. You need to teach patients to laugh off their grief and enjoy their pleasures. Forget the past and look forward to the future. And above all, put humor in what you do. Right? And that, as I said, I was annoyed at him that I didn't meet him, but I watched, I trained with people who were in that lineage, Dr. Ernest Rossi and Stephen Carter and others, and I watched a lot of videos of people talking about Erickson. One of the things that came up over and over again, they said he was truly one of the most playful people I ever met. So that ability to be playful with your clients. Now, I use story a lot. I love stories, and I do something that as we sometimes call narrative trance work, or narrative hypnosis. Because I believe that there are certain magic words in the English language, and one of those phrases is very simply, once upon a time. Now, you say those 4 words, and you have instant age regression. Right? Everybody makes a big deal of age regression. I can teach you hypnosis. You say, once upon a time, everyone is like, you're going to tell me a story. I'm a little kid again, right? So, once upon a time, and I use stories a lot, and so I told you a couple stories already, and here's another quote, and I'm going to use this quote. This is from a well-known, there's a tradition called crazy wisdom. And this was a well-known Tibetan Buddhist teacher who I had the pleasure of meeting and studying with years ago, named Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, who was a rascal. He was a profound teacher of wisdom, and he was also a playful trickster. And he said, so, a sense of humor is not merely a matter of trying to tell jokes or make puns. Well, that's a shame. That's what I do. But not merely, or trying to be funny in a deliberate fashion. It involves seeing the basic irony of the juxtaposition of extremes so that one is not caught taking them seriously, so that one does not seriously play their game of hope and fear. And Michael and I used to say, there's a condition out there that's we call it the disease of seriosity, and that other people suffered from a fun deficiency. So, how do I use this in my work with my clients? Well, you know, obviously, or maybe not obviously, but it's unlikely that I'm going to induce relaxation and trance and then start telling them jokes. That's not quite how it works. But I will be a little bit playful, and often I will be going along in a fairly serious manner, and I will do something, and it happens best when I don't plan. It happens best when it comes straight from my unconscious. And I'll say something, and they're very relaxed, but they'll smile, or they'll actually laugh. So I know that their unconscious is responding to that. I had a client years ago who was a very well-known dog trainer, although he said, I'm not a dog trainer, I'm a interspecies communication expert. And he, thank you, by the way. If I had my bell up here, I'd ring it. If you yawn during my talks, it's a compliment to me. So I tell my students that if you fall asleep during my class, you get an A. So this guy's name was Phil, and he was, and there are a couple of Phils here, right? And he came because he was eating a lot, and he was larger than he wanted to be. And so we got into a great conversation about how he worked with the dogs. Now Spencer talked about NLP, and I also was trained in neuro-linguistic programming, and I was talking to him about nonverbal communication and establishing rapport, and he said, that's that's just how I work with the dogs. So right away we have rapport, because I'm saying this is how I work with, and he's saying this is how he works with dogs. And so we had good rapport. I did a couple sessions with him, and I said, well, what is it? Why? What happens? What's the mechanism that goes on when you feel like you're eating and you're not hungry, or you're eating beyond the point of being full? And he said, there's like this hole, and I'm just trying to, fill it. So I was deep in the trance work with him one time, and I said, and there's this I understand there's this sense of unfulfillment, and that you trying to work with, and he right like unfulfillment, not unfulfillment, unfulfillment, right? So, but you don't stop and wait for a laugh. Here I am. It's like if you have to explain a joke, it didn't work. But I trusted, because he smiled, that his unconscious got that and understood it. And I wasn't telling him what to do, but I was turning it around so that he would think of it in a different way. Now, for those who are familiar with 12-step work, they use the phrase that everybody has a God-shaped hole, and that they're trying to fill it with everything else. And nothing works, because it's God-shaped. So you try shopping or alcohol, whatever. Anyway, so there's those two quotes. Oh, what are the notes? How am I running out of time? So I want to tell you two stories to demonstrate narrative, how I might make a point to someone using a story. And one of them was a couple came to me for some couples counseling. I don't do a lot of it, but every now and then I will. And I said, well, there was this guy Nasruddin, who was a famous holy fool. And he says, there are a lot of Sufi stories about Nasruddin, and one of them, a couple came to Nasruddin and they said, Mullah Nasruddin, we're newly married and we've been watching you and your wife, and you seem to get along so well. It's so harmonious. What is the secret of your happy marriage? And Nasruddin said, and one reason I love Nasruddin was because he's a pompous guy. I could relate to that, right? He thought he was very clever, right? And he said, it's very simple. My wife and I have an understanding. Oh, what is that? Well, she makes all the unimportant decisions, and I make all the important decisions. Okay. So what would be an example of some of the things that your wife decides? Well, where we will live, who our friends will be, where our children will go to school. Oh, well, what does that leave you? What do you decide? Me? I decide. Is there a God? Is there life after death? Secret of a happy marriage. Guys, pay attention. Women, pay attention. One other short story here. The value of preparing. Right? A lot of people, they want to be prepared. They want to know just what to do in every situation. You can be prepared, but often the universe has a different idea. So there was an out-of-work actor, and he got a phone call from his agent who said there is a opening. I know you're down in, where do you live, Spence? Washington? But there's a play in Boston, and it's only one line. I said, no, I don't care. I want it. I haven't worked in a long time. Yeah. So you have to be there tomorrow. I'll get there. And what's the line? He said, the line is, hark, is that a cannon I hear? Okay, I got it. So he rushes, he books a plane flight, and he rushes and he gets in a cab to the airport, and he's sitting in the back of the cab going, hark, is that a cannon I hear? Hark, is that a cannon I hear? Hark, is that a cannon I hear? And then the cab driver's looking at him, I'm an actor, I'm rehearsing. And he gets on the airplane, he's doing the same thing. The person in the seat next to him goes, what's up with you? Oh, I'm an actor, I'm preparing, right? And he gets to Boston and he jumps in the cab and he gets to the theater just as they're about to go on, and the director's property, we have a costume designer, says, here, quick, get in your costume. And get on stage, you gotta go right now. Oh, where'd that go? And he goes and he runs up on stage and he hears boom! And he goes, what the fuck was that? Pardon I F-bombed you, I know, but you'll remember that line, right? All right, thank you very much. I'm Scott.